5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
How about we do it again?
6, 7, 4, 3, 2, 1. I think I farted.
Okay, let's try one more
I
time.
definitely
Ready?
I can move you. Making review. Making review.
Say 6,
6,
5,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome to another fun-filled edition of Rank and Review. This is the voice of your host and random Canadian, Larry Parsons. And I guess we've done crossover episodes, but this one's a particularly interesting one because host of the Shelf-Shedding Movie Show, Mr. Jason Dubray, is back on the show. But this is going to be sort of a duplicate episode because simultaneously on his site, he will be dropping a Shelf-Shedding Movie Show with this same list and these same reviews. They're twinner episodes, if there's any Stephen King fans out there, or crossover events for comic book fans. I don't know. It was a fun experiment. We both got a new episode to put up of our podcast, and we get to cross-promote, and we get to talk about some very fresh modern horror, and discuss a little bit about where we are in the genre these particular days, how the decade is shaping up in anticipation of, the expression of what is our opinion of some of the best horrors of this decade. I think two of which might be included on this list. So, I think it's an interesting episode. There's highs, there's lows, but it's sort of two podcasts falling in love in the midst of all this chaos. As I always say, please listen to the Shelf-Shedding Movie Show and support Mr. Dubray. I also want to prepare you that Rank and Review has spoilers and coarse language, but I want to hit the spoilers particularly because this is a list of such recent movies. Most of the movies are either 1 or maybe 2 years at the most old, so I'm usually a little more retro than this with the podcast. Swears and spoilers, kids. Swears and spoilers. Now, let's dissect some fresh horror. Is it Rank and Review? Is it the Shelf-Shedding Movie Show? Okay, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the podcast.
We're talking about fresh horrors. I think that the oldest of these films is still under 2 years old. They're just babies.
Yes.
It's different for me because typically with Rank and Review, I have you to talk to movies that are in my collection. These ones aren't in my collection. They're in a digital collection. They're not part of my physical one, but I don't want to, fall so far behind in the new cinemas, So I think, although I shall still focus on the past, at least once or twice a season, I'm going to do an episode that's sort of like catch-up. Larry plays catch-up.
Yeah.
We talked about in the last time we did the decade sort of best of things that it's impossible to keep up with things anymore. Like the amount of movies that come out on your random streaming services that I don't even know exist anymore. Not to mention, keeping up with the theater calendar if it still exists.
It's supposed to increase now with Warner and Paramount becoming one. I'll see it when I believe it when I see it. Yeah.
No, because when we give the rich people the money, it'll trickle down to us, right? Great. No, I get that. I
that worked all the 80s.
That's how that works. I'm pretty sure. But I don't want to fall completely behind. But I don't kid myself that I'm able to keep up. So thank you for being here to help me keep up. I feel like I built this list and inflicted it upon you, but if memory serves, the thing that got you excited was the substance. You said that you would happily talk to me or anybody about this.
I'll do it a million times more. But it's not just the substance, as we'll discover, and there's more than one here that it's a really good list, and I'm I think I said before this, I'm super passionate about some of the movies that we're going to be talking about, so that'll be good.
Taking the temperature of modern horror, though, I mean, it's doing very well.
Yeah. The Academy Awards which you've always railed against, 3 separate horror movies were winners.
Final Destination, its 6th movie, highest grossing in the franchise. Scream just released Scream 7.
Yeah.
Highest grossing in the franchise.
I recommend it, by the way.
So I'm just saying, it's interesting. I'm not saying that that's good or bad or indifferent, but definitely we're still clinging on to things past.
Mm-hmm.
But horror still seems like a safer bet. They can make them on modest budgets, and the interest factor at least guarantees their money back to a limited degree. It's when they overspend that they really get hurt. That Megan sequel or movies like A Cure for Wellness, where they just get, unfortunately, I hate to put these words out of my mouth, but too ambitious for the budget, and then they can lose money. But it's weird, because once upon a time, rom-coms would make $200 million, right? And now, like, no one would stick their toe in the pool. Mm-hmm. Horror movies are big business. Does that mean they're great? Or are we going through a great period of horror? Or is that just reflective of our times?
I think it's becoming, maybe the generation that sort of discovered horror is starting to move into the mainstream in the Hollywood system. Also the fact that we've got more of an international look, because all of these different organizations have been criticized for being too white or too American or American British, North American. So there's the film festival circuit has become very, very important, and it's bringing some really interesting stuff there. And I also think there's just this crop of new auteur horror filmmakers who are super exciting. I mean, the 3 that, and 2 of them were multiple winners. Yeah, Frankenstein is as old as time, but Guillermo del Toro was, a horror champion when he was, making no-budget movies in Mexico in the 90s, right? And then built up to where he is now, where he's like one of the most important filmmakers. Weapons, Zach Krager is one of the most unique, as a writer, screenwriter alone, I'd be impressed. But one of the most unique visions was Weapons, and you know how much I like that Barbarian movie from a few years. I think I even like it more than Weapons. And then Sinners, of course. It like includes a bunch of other genre. The genre mashups are happening, and we see that a bit.
It's a horror movie,
but as vampires, it, like the violence. The first scene is in a church, flashing onto like some horrible bloody images. I mean, it's worked, and it was very close to winning the Academy Award for Best Picture over One Bell After Another, which is you can't criticize that movie either. So I think that we're going to start to see more and more people are like, hey, Sinners was a big money maker. Maybe we could, invest. And then, like, it used to be kind of like the January, February box office would have horror movies that the studios gave up on that would be the number 1 movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's always been strong.
Is gone.
But
I think.
Yeah, it really
officially.
is.
Once upon a time, like, Paramount used to be embarrassed to release a new Friday the 13th movie. I mean, they keep doing it because they made ridiculous amounts of money, but it was like the ugly redheaded stepchild of their, movie slate, right? Now it's like, if it's a paying machine, we're going to keep that machine in running operations.
And even if it's a drama, they're putting in some suspense and some terrifying things into it, which are horror adjacent, not actually horror, but I just think the influence, and most of the TV shows now, the new TV shows, will have some reference to horror. I mean, they had that Archie show a few years ago, Riverdale. That was an homage to horror movies as well as everything else. And it was like the Archie cartoons, which or comic books, which felt like kind of an innocent childhood thing. They used a lot of horror tropes in that. I just think, Buffy helped with that as far as the TV thing.
Yeah.
And we're going on too long about this, but I'm just kind of saying that horror has become very, very important, but it's been a journey to get to that place.
And I've wanted to get to this place for a while, where people
Yes.
they're not holding their nose to when it comes to horror. They're not making a horror movie just because it'll make money. They're making it because they're excited about it, and they're going to make a good movie and tell a good story. I think the only thing that the 2020s so far are missing for me is an identity. Like we kind of talked like in the 20-teens about the elevated horror, or the your horror had to be about something, and sort of pulling away from the torture-y, ultra dark of the noughties. I can't quite put my finger on the identity of this decade, but that's because we're only halfway through it, I guess.
Yeah, a little bit more than halfway. It almost seems like the identity is suddenly horror is Oscar bait, which I never thought would happen.
Or the horror of the real world is such that the horror on the screen is a relief.
Yeah, probably. The only thing I would say, and it was building up to this, is the brutality of it.
Right.
I mean, it used to be very unusual that you would have like somebody come up and like smash a head right flat to the ground. Like we get that kind of cartoonish violence coming in, and even in some like really critically acclaimed, like outside of that was back to Kill Bill with Tarantino, the violence seemed so cartoonish and over the top. But
now it's
standard. Now it's just kind of standard. Even if it's kind of a down to earth horror movie, we're seeing some pretty graphic kills there, and so and the Terrifier series has kind of been emblematic of that as far as this decade goes. So.
I think that's pretty solid for me for introduction. Anything you want to say before I lift off? These movies?
Yeah, I just want to say, like, as for the Shelf Shedding Movie Show part of this, for those regular Rank and Review listeners, and if you've never listened to the Shelf Shedding Movie Show,
what are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing? First of all, but we encourage you to listen there. So at the end of the show, we will do our rank, but I do a points thing as well.
Right.
And so it almost feels like the reverse, because I award 6 points to my favorite movie. So this is going to be really confusing when we're talking about number 6. And the one we least like gets 1 point. The movie at the very bottom of the list has to leave my movie collection. Now, I, like you, do not own all of these movies. I have access to some of them as far as I paid money to own them.
Right.
But sometimes I run into this, and then there's a little bit of something where my guest, who is also my co-host for this, will have to decide what I have to do depending on this. So we'll have our separate ranks, but at the end I'm going to do a points thing.
The Substance is the worst movie, and you have to give me your copy of The Substance.
Okay.
No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to even pretend to lie about that. The 6 fresh horrors.
Yes.
Mr. Jason Dubray and Mr. Larry Parsons, your host around Canadian.
Shelf Shedding Rank and Review.
That's right. We're going to talk about The Substance, starring Demi Moore. We're going to talk about The Monkey, based off of a Stephen King short story. We're going to talk about an animated Predator movie called Predator, Killer of Killers. We're going to talk about a movie called Heretic, starring Hugh Grant. We're going to talk about Clown in a Cornfield. And then we're going to finish with the Final Destination, right?
Bloodlines.
Destination Bloodlines.
Yes.
The most recent and most profitable entry of the franchise. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you. I want to thank you for being here, too.
It's so great that we're both here.
Even though even though I'm at your home, so I guess I...
But we're both here.
But we're both here.
Yes.
The Substance.
I'm Sue.
You're hired.
Let's go.
A perfect balance of 7 days each. The one and only thing not to forget. You are one. You can't escape from yourself.
There's been a slight misuse of the substance.
This balance is not working.
Would you like to stop? Would you like to stop? Would you like to stop? Would you like to stop?
I'm fine.
We are going to start off with Academy Award-winning film, The Substance. It won in the makeup category. I think it probably should have won in a number of other categories, but we'll get to that in a minute. Essentially, we have an aging kind of TV fitness instructor who was once this very profitable movie star played by Demi Moore. And her producer is a rather grotesque Dennis Quaid. He's really sleazing it up in this film. And she starts to hear, like, oh, we're wanting to replace her with somebody who's younger because she's now in her 50s and that's way too old. The irony of that is that Demi Moore is in her 60s playing the role, and she looks great. I mean, I was just like, oh, I haven't seen Demi for a while, and she just looks great at the beginning of this film, which works really well. She's in this car accident that happens pretty early on, and then this kind of strange male nurse comes up to her and says, you would be a good candidate for the substance. And what is the substance? And then she starts to, like, throw it away, and this is a scam or whatever. But then she starts to get more self-doubt, and kind of discovers that she can have a younger version of herself for 7 days in a row, and then she comes back as herself for 7 days. But the key in this, with this treatment, is it's in balance. They are all the same person, and you cannot break those rules. You can't go for an 8th day or longer. The younger version of Demi Moore's character is Margaret Qualley, in a very underrated performance, I would say, as well.
Sue,
Sue is the character, of course. And we start to see this tension, which is almost like predictable. I think this has an homage to David Cronenberg body horror as things start to get grosser and grosser and grosser. There are a lot of references to The Shining visually, a lot of shots like that. I also think there's a bit of an homage to Carrie at one point in this film. It knows its horror history. Coralie Farragut, who there's a movie I really like called Revenge. I had it on the Best of the 20 Teens show. Brutal revenge horror movie. I wasn't sure that this filmmaker, who's French, had it in her, but sometimes, again, a European person coming and commenting on Hollywood and body image and what Hollywood has done to women for decades is exactly what we needed. I was excited when I heard about this movie existing. I was excited when I heard it had success at the Cannes Film Festival. I couldn't wait to see it. When I went to see it with the highest expectations you could possibly have, being fully prepared that when I do that, sometimes I get incredibly disappointed. I did not. And then I thought, okay, maybe my romance with the substance, and in particular Demi Moore's near perfect performance, was just the nostalgia of watching it the first time. Watching it again to prepare for this podcast, I love it even more. It is a crime. As much as I love the movie Anora, there was nothing wrong with the movie Anora, but it's a crime to me that Demi Moore did not win Best Actress. This is the performance of her career. And I think it gave her things to do that when she was a movie star and was in, so many movies in the late 80s and early 90s. She was the perfect person to play this role. Somebody who had been used by Hollywood when she was young, became a sex object in some ways.
And spat out.
Got older, disappeared for a number of years, and could never be taken seriously because of her looks as a great actor. And I think she's always been a great actor. And then she comes back and she just absolutely nails this performance in her 60s. It's, anyway, you can tell my voice is being raised. I'm getting into that point again there where I'm shouting at my viewers and your viewers or listeners. But The Substance to me is such a great movie, and I mean, my cards are fully on the table with this one. You can probably guess how many points or what rank it's going to get at the end. I think it's one of the best horror movies of the century, one of the best movies of the decade, if not, in consideration for the top 3 movies of the decade. The Substance is just so good. Anyway.
I agree. I think you did call Fargenta when we did the decade one with Revenge.
Yeah.
And I remember, that movie did stick with me. I didn't put it on the list, but, it was not my type of movie. Mm-hmm. But I respect the strength of the vision of this filmmaker. And if someone hadn't told me it was the same director, I might have figured it out. It's kind of weird, the things that I identified with it. But the over exaggeration of the gore.
Yes.
Like, it's not trying to be realistic.
No.
It's so over the top that it just like burns your retinas.
Yes.
And deliberately so. And it's quite jarring. And every time you think that movie's gone as far as it's going to go, it will top itself. Like the big finale of this, which I will get to eventually, I could not fucking believe what I was watching.
This is a movie that's nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards.
Exactly.
I know so many people said, Jason, don't get your hopes up. It's not going to happen. It's not. But it kept kind of. It was in the zeitgeist or the memory. How could it not be? All year long, from the Cannes Film Festival on and beyond, people are still talking about how Demi Moore was robbed.
Yeah. The sexuality in the movie, and again, this is also parallel to Revenge and how she's handling it.
Yeah.
Like, you get to see a lot of Demi Moore and a lot of
Margaret Qualley. Yeah.
And they're both very beautiful, but you feel gross the whole time. And both Revenge and this movie have a number of, like, real close-up on ladies' butts, like, repeatedly. Mm-hmm. If you watch it again, I remember I was watching it with Lee, and I said it out loud, being a glib Larry thing, like, she's got a thing for these fetishy close-up butt shots. But once I called it, like, it was like again and again and again. And she's talking about, how women are presented, and she's doing it with purpose. But I'm so glad that this is not a male gaze. Like,
it's not at all. Yeah, if it was, if Cronenberg directed it, or, I don't know, somebody else.
Like, even Margaret Qualley said, like, for the workout, like, the super slutty workout sequence, she had to get drunk to do it beforehand, and it was all ladies on set, and everybody knew why they were there. It was being done with purpose, but it is fucking gross. And thank you for calling that out. Dennis Quaid eating shrimp.
Yes. One of the most startling image. Demi Moore said herself that was the thing that she had to turn away from when she first saw it. But it was also the moment she thought, we're onto something that's bigger than what I had, originally thought this would turn into.
Quaid does a good job. Not so fun fact. That was supposed to be Ray Liotta, but he was busy being deceased, so unfortunately they had to recast.
Ray Liotta would have been really good. I might argue better.
I'm not going to talk shit about Quaid's performance. I think he did the job.
I think, unfortunately, but maybe there's a reason behind it. He is to me one of the, I was trying hard to find weaknesses for this movie because you can tell I'm in love with it.
Right.
But he pretty much one-dimensional, and he's just so sleazy. I thought it was quite big. Everything is quite big in the film, but his performance, just in comparison to Qualley and Moore, just kind of got swallowed up. And he's playing it super big. Where I was just kind of. I didn't like the, and you're not supposed to like the scenes with him, but it's just okay. This is just like the biggest exaggeration of this type of guy. But he's again representing the Harvey Weinsteins out there, and
I think he was doing what he
some of these studio. He fulfilled the role, and it's because that we don't like the character. Then it feels like maybe it's a bad performance, but it's. It's interesting with him sometimes in his politics gets kind of in the way of his success, because I think if Far From Heaven, a movie many years ago, he should have been up for an Oscar for, and he wasn't too. It was good to have a recognizable face in that role, and I think it worked, but it was such a picky point on my end, but yeah. I just kind of thought, but how many movies were the woman was the colorful side character, and the men just completely controlled it. I think this is all purposeful. The nudity about both movies are about women taking control of their bodies after men have tried to, control them for years, and the fact that there is no. Our bodies are functional. It is not just about the male gaze. It's not just about the sexual angle of things. Also, just the fact that you had to, prod those things, the substance into your body and into into the back. You couldn't have clothes on during that stuff. But it was a shocking amount of nudity. originally.
And if
for
you have
two,
issue with injections, there's a lot
Yeah.
of needle shit in this movie.
there is, yeah. If you're sensitive to needles, I know people can't watch the needle sequences in Pulp Fiction.
Right.
If you can't handle that, this movie is going to be
It's gonna
tough.
be hard.
Yeah.
But it's also not as simple as a satire about how Hollywood chews women up and spits them out. I also think it's about young versus old.
Mm-hmm.
The energy and naivete and the kind of ruthless energy of a young person opposed to the heartless sort of wisdom and bitterness of old age. Neither of them are particularly positively portrayed.
No.
It's hard to cheer for either of them, but it's also easy to forget that they're the same person. Like, she is self-destructing. This
Yes.
is self-destruction.
Out of self-hate.
Yeah.
I mean, that. Yeah.
I mean, it comes from being abused in the industry her whole life, but she's by any measure been a tremendous success for 50 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for that to end or even slightly recede is untenable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think happiness was ever in the equation for our main character, which sucks, but it's not all the evil industry and the
Mm-hmm.
Dennis Quaid. She is a fundamentally flawed person as well.
is.
And that's interesting.
One of my favorite kind of subplots in here is there's this, after she's been kind of feeling like, you know, oh, I'm old and I'm ugly, then she runs into some guy from high school. Now, this guy he has no game. Like, he's such a, you know, he says all the wrong things to her, and he looks like an ordinary person, you know, and you can kind of see her. She's got a superficial attitude towards him too. Like, okay, she'll be nice and get the phone number or whatever, but it's like, okay, I'm not going to be calling this guy back, and we will never have this conversation again until later on when some things have happened, and then she's recognizing her loneliness a lot more, and then she finds that number, and then she calls him and arranges that date, and like he's saying, you are so beautiful, you haven't aged a bit, like feeding in all of the good stuff to her, and then they arrange for this dinner date.
And she can't do it.
She cannot leave because, and it's the mirror, and the mirror is such, like and it's not just for women, it can be for men too, but the mirror is like the devil.
Yeah.
And that's where more, and like that sequence of when she keeps going back and fixing, and then it just leads into just one of the biggest breakdowns you ever saw. I would give her the Oscar for that 5-minute sequence alone. If that's all I got from that performance, she should have a golden statue, and that, because that was so well acted. It was built up beautifully. It wasn't like, there were other scenes that they featured a lot in that, but that sequence was perfect.
The tragedy of that sequence is that if she'd shown up just rolling out of bed with food stains on his shirt, he would have worshipped
just
the
like,
ground.
you
that
bow
she
down,
walked.
yeah.
Like, she had nothing to worry about.
And this poor guy, I mean, I'm thinking of this other movie where this guy stood up and he's just like, his dreams are crushed because of this, and
thinks he was stupid to even think that she was going to do it.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the finale. I know we've been going on for a long time, but I think it's worth mentioning.
Yes.
She gets, the Margaret Qualley character gets hired to do a New Year's Eve show and completely abandons doing the substance switch. So her older version is turning into this calcified hag while she's, living her best life. And we know this monstrous transformation is going to happen, but we don't know what it's going to look like. And when it happens, when out of desperation she uses the substance, Margot Qualley tries the substance on herself to bring a younger version of this version of Demi Moore out of her. Something like a much worse version of John Hurt from The Elephant Man.
yes.
Somehow stumbles onto this stage. How she got on stage, don't worry about it. How all again, Fargent lets go of reality and just lets us sit with it. This monstrous being bellows for love from the audience, and a tumorous breast sort of emerges and drops from her body and flops on the floor. And then I heard a thump, and I looked down, and my jaw was laying on the floor. What in the goddamn world did I watch? And we're just getting started. Then she starts spraying a fire hose of blood drowning
Everybody.
And, oh, this got to be the end. No. Then she somehow flees the building, and she falls and shatters into a bunch of pieces.
And the first image of the movie is brought back so perfectly with that.
Star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, where the last essence of herself sludges over and dies upon her own star. And is it, like, completely on the nose and crazy? Like, to describe it, it's like, it's too much. Yes, but it's also fucking perfect.
It's perfect, and it's built up to that.
Yeah,
and this is the section people who are critical of the movie will talk
everybody
about
out
that
of the
scene.
pool. Yeah.
Whereas I'm like, there's stuff in there that reminds me of Carrie. Like, the reaction shots and the shots, it reminds me of that prom.
Yeah.
And then everybody's like reacting to this, this creature or whatever, which is, I mean, it won makeup for a reason. It should have won a bunch of others, as I said, but that particular creation, which is this mix of Margaret Qualley and Demi Moore, and we see the faces kind of coming out and parts of the body, and there's the earrings that are. The earrings are put on this creature to look pretty.
Up.
It is just a chef's kiss of a climax of a movie. It's such, everything that's happening is so outrageous, so big. Just before that, there's a fight between the two of them, which is one of the best fights you've ever seen. And talk about an amount, like the violence, like you are. It is a sensory experience. Like, you are wincing. You are, very few movies make me, react anymore.
And that one got to you.
Yeah, it did. It did.
And even if you feel, for some reason, if you listen to this and we've let yourself be spoiled, first of all, shame on you. But it's not the same as seeing this. Like, witnessing this is unforgettable.
It is.
I remember I watched it with Beckman, and because he'd seen it and needed to show it to someone, and
you have to, yeah.
And I was like,
I wanted to talk to somebody about it right after. I probably messaged you right after I saw it.
I was visiting my sister, and I'm showing you substance. It's like, it's the most fucked thing you've ever seen, but you need to see it. So, that's kind of my review. Yeah. It's the most fucked thing you've ever seen, but you need to see it.
We need to put that in. I know the Blu-ray's already out, but we needed it on the 4K case there. Says Rank and Review.
We should try and wrap it up, though. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, just, again, I love this movie. I've made my point. There's different things that I could criticize here and there. It's not a perfect movie. There's no such thing as a perfect movie. And if it was a perfect movie, it'd be a boring movie.
That's right.
This is not a boring movie. And I love the slow burn quality of it, too.
Don't eat while you're watching it.
Probably not. Even though I think I was eating last time we watched it. But, yeah, bad choices.
A beast not from this earth, smiting the ones who deserved it, the ones who didn't. And everyone in between. Whoever controls it controls life and death. And those deaths are really fucked up.
Holy sh!
Everybody dies. And that's life.
It's a goddamn mess in there. Have you been up there? It's like that restaurant. Spaghetti City.
Everything okay up there?
All right, The Monkey, from writer-director Osgood Perkins, based on a short story by Stephen King. So we go in a little bit loaded for me, because I am a fan of the director. You know, I have big feelings for Blackcoat's Daughter. I like Longlegs, but I like Blackcoat's Daughter more.
And I love Longlegs. You know I love Longlegs.
Yeah, but, I'm a fan of this guy. What's cool about The Monkey is it's like one of 3 movies he made in like an 18-month period, and it is completely different in tone and vibe than Longlegs. It's like a complete 180 degree. And as much as it is a thin adaptation of the short story The Monkey, what I think it really is a love letter for those of us who grew up watching Stephen King adaptations. It's kind of like I love Stephen King vibes, and this movie's about Stephen King vibes, and it might be more that than it is an actual movie. in some ways. It's interesting we're doing this one in the same episode as the Final Destination, too, because, or Final Destination Bloodlines, forgive me,
yes.
In that it has a lot of really outrageous, strange, Rube Goldberg-style deaths, where a bizarre chain of events causes something gruesome to take place. And in this movie, usually for funny. We sort of start in the middle of things, but we are introduced to this monkey. And interesting, in the film, it plays a drum. In the short story, it bangs cymbals. Do you know why they changed that?
Because a monkey shines?
Because Disney copyrighted the cymbal monkeys for one of the fucking Toy Story movies.
Oh.
They have a monkey that clangs its
okay.
cymbals. So even though it's in the original short story and is the cover of the book of short story collections, they had to change it. I know it seems like a small thing, but I don't know, it kind of irritates me. Anyway, if this monkey starts playing its drum, somebody that you know is going to die.
Yeah.
And the father of our protagonists is trying to dispose of the monkey at the beginning of the film. And
Adam Scott.
Adam Scott, that's right. A cameo, I guess. And it's hard to read while you're watching it how we're supposed to be interpreting this. Are we to laugh? Are we to be afraid? What is the vibe of this movie? And I struggle with the vibe of, as a huge fan of Stephen King, the vibe of Stephen King sometimes. I find some of his villains, including one of the twins in this particular story, to be so unbelievable, like so hard to take seriously as a person that walks and talks in the world that it should defeat the movie. For me, it doesn't, but for a lot of people, it does. And to be honest, Jason, I'm sympathetic. The absurd energy of the movie is the thing that I really kind of attune to. It's just like, what the fuck am I watching? What is it going to happen next? And more interestingly, how is it that I'm being asked to feel about it? Because at first I thought it was supposed to be absurd splatter laughter, sort of like the Final Destination, or a woman dives into an electrically charged swimming pool and her body fucking explodes. It's like beyond absurd. What am I looking at? And again, we have the good brother who is excommunicated himself from the rest of his family to try and keep them safe from this monkey. And we have the evil brother who's using the monkey whenever he can to try and cause havoc in the world. The story, and again, that's not exactly how it plays out in the original short story at all. They've done a lot of inventions. It plays in all of this field, and I would have just said, okay, I'll give it a conditional pass, but I'll forgive everybody giving it a thumbs down until this fucking ending shows up. Where all of a sudden we get like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and the monkey is some sort of token of death that they are like, their family is somehow indebted to carry forward, and what the hell? Are we trying to have feelings all of a sudden? Are we going for like something real at the end of this absurd? No.
A tonal change.
Yeah. The movie's just fucking weird, and I have an appetite for movies that are fucking weird, so I will make excuses for it. And I just think, coming off the heat of Longlegs, this is just such a bizarre choice. And again, it's not a script he was hired to do. He wrote the screenplay.
Yeah.
I think he was having fun and hoping that we would too. And I mostly did, while acknowledging that the movie's out of its mind.
Maybe
where did you land on?
I think maybe after making Longlegs, which is such a rough,
dark,
dark, super dark, doing something a little bit fun, maybe was something that he needed. I have become an Osgood Perkins fan.
Yeah,
Blackcoat's Daughter, you introduced me to, and I'm grateful. And so when I say I like Longlegs more, that's not a knock on Blackcoat's Daughter, but those two are just so good. The expectations for the monkey for me were pretty high, and I had a great time with it. Watched it. It was a sick day. I watched it, but I still did my notes and all of that. I thought, this was a lot of fun. This is like 4-star movie or something like that. It's funny how it's become a little bit more forgettable for me since then. And then I was going back to the short story, realizing how. There's a lot that doesn't really have to do with the short story in this movie, and it's just kind of its own thing. But my thumb is up on the monkey. I'm a little bit less passionate. If you had if we had recorded right after the first time I watched it, I'd be like, high five! Is there nothing Osgood Perkins can't do? What's next? I haven't seen his latest movie yet. Keeper. Well, no, it wasn't Keeper. I thought it was a different one.
Oh.
Wasn't Keeper the one with Franco and maybe I've got the. There were a couple movies last year that I missed out on. I might be getting a couple mixed up.
Well, if I'm wrong, I'll just cut that shit right out.
Yeah, well, yeah, but yeah, I may be completely wrong on that, but whatever. The opening was terrific with Adam Scott. You're right. Like, are we supposed to laugh? Are we supposed to? But it set the tone so well, and then we moved into kind of like a Goodfellas type of this narration and that kind of filmmaking. There was a misery. There was a misery reference kind of early on with the babysitter. Annie Wilkes is, we're just like, okay, that's not the first. There's been TV shows, of course, that Castle Rock show.
Little Link can make references. That's fine.
Yeah, to
as long as you don't
misery.
overdo it, I don't mind.
Saskatchewan, Regina's Tatiana
Maslany.
It took me a minute to. What was it like? Okay, is that her? And it's like, yeah, that's her. She's so good.
Yeah.
Like, again, she's such a big contributor to the success of the early part of the film when we're looking at the twins and their little boys, and you're right. The evil twin is just so nasty, and the other one so good, and is trying to, much like his father, stop this monkey from doing its evil. So I did like all of that. And then we kind of went into the future. And I think that section, Theo James is kind of the central character there. I think he does quite a good job keeping, the energy of the movie going there. We have like Elijah Wood is this kind of goofy stepfather.
He's trying to step in as the new dad.
He used his kind of childhood and his Lord of the Rings fame to promote horror, and he's a producer of horror movies. That's a good thing. I think he distracts. Seeing him is just like, okay, now I'm taken out of the movie for a minute.
It's one of those things, not all celebrities have it, but yeah, as soon as you're there, I'm looking at Elijah Wood. As soon as you're there, I'm looking at you, Kevin Bacon. I see you.
Yeah, Kevin Bacon in like the, like that Pearl XXX, the third one there, and that series, Maxine.
Right.
Yeah, he's in there, and it's like, okay, sleazy Kevin Bacon, okay, but it's Kevin Bacon.
You're good, but
you're good. I'm not sure Elijah Wood. I don't know. He's just playing big and colorful, which he tends to do, and that's.
Oh, it's another weird note being played in this perpetual.
Yeah, and maybe that's fine. I mean, I don't mind that all the time. But yeah, the death of the swimmer. I loved it. I mean, I just love that. There's an amazing wasp kill sequence in here.
See, that one I didn't like as much.
Why didn't you like that one?
Well, so he fires a shot through the window of the car. Is that what it is? And the wasps all come in a straight line through the circular hole in the gap, through in a straight, perfect cylindrical sort of pattern down his throat.
But
he just takes it like a champ.
But
of all of the
did
things,
you like the effect though? I mean, look cool.
I thought that character himself was hilarious. This
Yes.
guy who wanted to get his hands on this monkey for really stupid reasons, and all of his little plans and faking being a cop. I thought his character was hilarious and well executed. But I thought that death was like just a beat too far.
I also thought that too much over the realms of realism for you.
Well, I mean, the exploding in the swimming pool was unreal, but like ridiculous. This was like there was another person in the car. This is not. I know that there's being supernatural motivation, but this isn't bees. These are like fucking bullets or so. I don't know. I thought it was silly, but the movie had already established itself.
But it is such a silly movie. I guess I was going along on the ride with that one. That's fine.
The evil twin, which is the only way you can call this character. This and they're written about as deeply as they would be on a soap opera. Okay, he wears the same suit that he wore to his mom's funeral for the rest of his life. That is so fucking stupid. I'm sorry. Like that is just so stupid. Like that he just takes that. He doesn't get it taken out or refit or anything like that. He's just a grown man wearing a child's suit and being asked to take seriously.
Yeah.
And on one hand, it's a Stephen King villain thing. So I understand that's the carnival ride that we're playing in, but he has this line where it's just like an everybody out of the pool line for me. well, you killed my mom. And his brother responds, well, she was my mom too. And he says, oh, yeah. Like that had honestly never occurred to him. And again, not for laughs. Like this was like a character beat for it's like, I think you recognize the weakness in some of the Stephen King writing, but instead of leaning away from it, you kind of lean into it.
Not as much as Dreamcatcher did, but no.
What did you think about the Horsemen of the Apocalypse?
Yeah, I think that was just a bad ending. Yeah, I agree.
It seemed like they were going for profundity, and the movie just hadn't earned that at all.
No, it didn't make sense. I mean, I don't know if maybe he doesn't seem like a guy who's taking studio notes or anything. No. But this feels like this was to placate some studio executive or somebody came in, like this was with Amazon or something, wasn't it? And somebody came in and they were like, oh, okay, we're going too cartoonish with this. We need to ground that or make this more. But yeah, that
I don't know. Maybe it was just something that he was excited about and amused at. It's like for his own personal self, this is a movie I want to make, and I just made Long Legs. So if I'm going to make this movie, now is the time.
He does like his religious imagery. I mean, sure. He really does. So maybe that's part of it.
Also, he does have a brief cameo role in the movie.
Yes, that's right.
As the uncle who briefly is taking care of our characters when they are kids.
I recently watched Nope again. I'm going to be reviewing it on a podcast. And I forgot that he had a cameo in Nope.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he was kind of on that film set at the beginning of the film there. So he still likes to act like his dad, but they just did small roles there. The other one, I thought that girl gang bit. What did you think of that? Like, I thought that was kind of
the girl gang.
Is it the girls were
bullying him?
Bullying, yeah. I just thought
threw pumpkins or bananas on him. Yeah, whatever it was. Again, Stephen King villains like. People get bullied,
but they made it a girl gang, so that it was like even more humiliating for this boy or something. I don't know.
Kids are cruel at school. You and I have both.
I know.
Dealt with bullies. Mm-hmm. Like I think maybe that's the issue. Like it's not serious about how it treats the bullies.
Yeah. I just thought it was a bit of a. And mind you, this is a flashback to I think like the 80s is the sequence or whatever where it's like, oh, you're getting bullied by some girls, like I just felt like it was kind of an antiquated type of idea and that wasn't quite as well handled as some other things. But you're right. I think that's that whole bullying thing, and I've forgiven it in other Stephen Kings. I can forgive it here.
Yeah.
I think there's more good than bad. It's an entertaining.
And he usually uses the villain, so you know what you're going to get out of that character. And
yes.
You're never going to be surprised, and you're going to enjoy getting their payoff. But just sometimes...
What did you think of the relationship with the son? Like, who he stayed away from and all that? That brought on some of that sentimentality in the third act.
I think it was a little bit more earned in that it needed something in this guy's life other than the monkey.
Yeah.
And the fact that he had neglected his son, but it was for reasons of protection.
Yeah.
I think that I could have done more with us seeing that he did, in fact, love his son. Mm-hmm. I think that he was being cold to try and make it easier for his son to distance himself from him.
Because this is the last time he's going to see him based on that.
It seemed too easy for him to do something so dreadful. Mm-hmm. For me, I would have liked that scene, even if his son didn't see it, where we saw it, that it fucking killed him.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, that would have been good to make that work a little bit better. I like what they were trying. I mean, he doesn't make I haven't seen the latest one, so maybe I didn't hear much about it, so I don't know if that's good or bad, but I
lower tier, but still worth watching, I would say.
Okay, good, because I'm really cheering for him. Like, as I mentioned about like the new horror movement, I think he's a very, very important filmmaker in this mix, and I've just committed since Black Coat's Daughter I will watch everything that he produces moving forward, because
I feel like I've been hard on it, because usually like I will soft sell Stephen King things. There are way worse Stephen King adaptations for this, but like if you go in thinking Osgood Perkins, Long Legs, Stephen King,
and that's what the promo did.
I mean, you paint this amazing picture in your head, and it's a much weirder movie than that.
Yeah,
I just
and then I'm
wanna
glad
put
it's
there-
its own thing, because Blackcoat's Daughter is completely different from Longlegs, is completely different from this,
Yeah.
and it shows the range of this filmmaker. So,
Yeah.
thumbs up. I mean, I'm not foaming at the mouth like it was with Substance.
I think
but
we're similar, actually. Yeah.
My son, tell me why we fight.
Because our enemy still lives.
You all have traveled far and miss the warmth of home. But tonight, think of only one thing. Killing the monster.
You're not hearing me. There's something else up in the sky. And it's not human.
I pray you bloody your spear tonight. You are ready now.
Yeah, so the Predator series is really interesting. I often parallel it to Alien franchise. I mean, we had Alien versus Predator, of course, two of the movies.
We grew up watching these franchises.
Yeah, we did. I mean, you have 79 for Alien, but really like in kind of more late 80s with Predator. I think I've leaned more towards Alien, and I'm more forgiving of the bumps in the road with the Alien franchise than I am with Predator. I'm always cheering for a good Predator film. And there, of course, there was like another one, like almost in the same year we had this
and
one
Badlands,
was Badlands, which I still haven't seen, and I'm excited to take a look at. But this is an animated Predator movie, Killer of Killers. I don't think I knew that was animated until I watched it. I saw it advertised. I just hadn't gone around to watching it, and I was catching up. There were some of these kind of middle chapters there, but like there's. I love the first two Predators. The one with Adrian Brody, I could not stand. Then the next one after that, I always get Predators and The Predator mixed up of which one is which. I really enjoyed the next one after that. I like the one where we go back in time, Prey. I'd watched it just before watching Killer of Killers. Because I thought, and rightly so, because there is in here a reference to all of our protagonists kind of late in the film. And this is essentially this. I felt a little bit like The Monkey was an anthology film, even though it is kind of telling one story, but in different acts there are very specific. This one is an anthology. Things do kind of come together, but we have the Shield, which is based on Norse gods and warriors battling the Predator. We have the Sword, which is a Japanese samurai story, which also involves the Predator as well. And then we have the Bullet, which is set during, I believe, World War II, where we have a Latino American in World War II. This young guy who gets in a plane is battling the Predator. This felt like where we are in the 2020s, and we're on a Disney Plus. We look how far we've progressed with Disney from where we were, where any sort of racial groups were the villains.
Right.
Now, in each case, we are representing. I mean, a little bit less so with the Norse, but with the later two stories, we have Asian representation, we have Latino representation, positive. They're heroes of the story, but I don't think, as much as I feel like it's an interesting idea to have the Predator animated, for me, it really didn't work. I found myself not really caring that much. And the other thing that was kind of strange, which is not really the case for most Predator movies for me, I run into that Friday the 13th thing where all of a sudden I'm making Jason into the protagonist. I'm cheering for Jason to get the teenagers in the camp or whoever it is. I was almost cheering for the Predator over some of these characters because I just did not really care about them enough. And then when we go into this strange, like the situation, like where we're on to like the Predator planet there, and they've captured these different time frames as trying to like study humanity and all that. I don't think I needed to go there. I wasn't that interested in this. And then watching this kind of gladiator battle that happens with that monster. This might appeal to some people, but it really didn't work for me. This was a really, really good group of films until I saw this one.
Okay.
This was the one to me that I watched it for the completionist Predator thing, but it is not a movie that I would be excited to revisit. But what is your thoughts?
I don't entirely agree with you, but my issue with it is that it feels like Predator product more than a Predator movie.
I know.
And I like the style of the animation. The new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies use a similar style of animation, and I think it looks cool. It's fluid. It doesn't...
I had fun with that movie, but not with this one.
No, but I'm just saying that
But
style,
you're right. The style is it's a good animation style, yes.
Part of me couldn't help but feel haunted that they blew 3 totally decent standalone Predator movies on this, right? Because you could make a movie out of any of those 3 core stories.
Live action.
That's right. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
The other part of me acknowledges is that, like, Predator's been around since the 80s. And the one thing that this new age of Trachtenberg and Predator is doing that almost every other franchise has failed to is genuinely change things up and take things in a different direction. I guarantee goddamn to you, Jason, that if I would have seen Killer of Killers when I was 14, I would have thought it was the most fucking amazing thing I had ever seen. The action and the Predator carnage is delivered. And, like, I was not bored by it, but I had reservations. It was like, yes, I see what you're doing here, but I have reservations. I don't want to get into it because I know you haven't seen Badlands. I think it's a good Predator movie too, but I have reservations. My problem with these new era is not that they're necessarily bad Predator movies, but they're not my Predator movies.
Was that the case with Prey as well?
I liked Prey.
So I thought Prey was one of the best in the series.
I was much more defensive of Prey. I've been hearing people boo it down to me since then, but
I don't know why.
I'm a big fan of my buddy Jeremy, my buddy Paxton.
Love it.
Not so big on it, but,
oh, really?
I quite liked it. In fact, I showed it to Paxton because I thought he would like
it.
But no, I thought it was, this is the direction to go in. Bring him back in time. Let's see Predator throughout the ages. Let's see Predator fight pirates. Let's see Predator fight samurai. Yes to all of this. I'm not sure this is the package I would have chosen, but I get it. And I get it if you want to reinvigorate the franchise.
It's a new generation, right?
That's it. A younger generation. On some level, by getting to know the Yautja and their culture, they're becoming a more friendly, cozy, familiar, almost cuddly Predator, which I personally never wanted for the franchise.
No, I don't want that at all, no.
That said, it's given new life to the franchise. There will be more Predator movies. I will watch more Predator movies, but I'm kind of past that point for, like, we will always have that original Predator movie, and that is fucking magic to me. And I will keep up with the franchise out of loyalty, but I don't feel attached to it anymore.
Yeah. I think I get what your point is, and it's a valid enough point. I feel like the last Indiana Jones movie, which some people are really hard on, and I really liked, I thought, okay, they got the memo, and they're going back to the original fans of Indiana Jones and trying to, give us something that we originally loved about it. But we're now those who grew up with it are middle-aged, and those who were the parents taking their kids to it are senior citizens.
Right.
And so it did feel like maybe a senior citizen's entry in this. Well, it was, because Harrison Ford's age and everything is the action hero. Here, it's probably smart, you're right. And because it was connected to so many kids have Disney Plus and or their families do, let's check out what is this Predator thing, and maybe they'll go back and discover the original films, and it will keep going.
Predator fans.
But yet, this was not made for me. This is what I run into sometimes with some animated films. It was not made for me, and I need to stop being a hypocrite with this and saying, okay, was it successful for its target audience? I mean, I didn't watch it with a 14-year-old, and maybe if I had, I would be seeing the excitement.
Right.
I watched it.
I watched it alone.
I watched it alone.
Right.
around the same time I was sick watching The Monkey, and I was just like, oh, Prey was such a step up. Prey was such a
same director,
innovative decision and a choice, meeting that kind of the inclusive racial thing that that they're trying to do with movies, and Disney in particular. All the studios are, but Disney in particular, trying to make up for their history or whatever, history of cinema. I thought this was brilliant for it to be an indigenous-based story, and it worked really well. And also a female-directed Predator film was brilliant. And this just sat here like I was just not excited about it. I didn't think it was well written. Yes, the animation looks good. If I maybe had it on the mute button and had playing it in the background, that looks interesting and pretty.
Yeah,
but
I'm not as hard on
it
that way as you are. I will agree. I think that the stories get perpetually worse, which is a bad move for an anthology. Mm-hmm. I thought the Norse ones was the best, and then the Samurai and the World War II was like...
The Samurai had potential, but it was so thinly drawn. Like the brother and the relationship with the father. Okay, we have a scene of cruelty, but then all this other stuff happens so fast. Like this, the brilliance of a samurai story or a film, or is that it is a slow burn. It takes time. We get to know the characters, even if they're kind of stock characters, before the action happens. There was just not enough time for that. I think there was that one I felt had the most potential. Like the kid who's going off to World War II and he wants to be a pilot, and I don't know. I don't know about that one. But yet he's the really important character once we get to the payoff to the film.
And again, if we had a whole movie worth to tell each one of those stories, that might have been made it more dramatically potent for me. But that's not what they were doing here. I honestly think that the idea is we're making Predator for a new generation. And that's valid.
And also a YouTube generation.
It hurts my feelings a little.
A YouTube generation, or TikTok, even worse yet, generation where they're used to 30-second videos. Yeah. And so we're going to tell the story in a short amount of time because we're going to get bored with this and we'll pause it, then we'll go to the next story later on, as opposed to a 2-hour action epic. Yeah. Which I just think is a shame, but
I don't hate it. I just sort of...
I don't hate it either. Don't get me wrong. It's not like that. But
I love Predator so much, and I wish they still made them like they used to, but they don't make them like they used to. They make them like this now.
I guess so, yeah.
You fit through this. You're crazy.
We just need to go home.
I won't keep you if you wish to leave. But I want you to choose which door to go through based on your faith.
What does this have to do with us leaving?
Everything.
I think that we're being studied.
It will make your hearts beat faster. It may even make you want to die. Do not be afraid. You will witness a miracle.
Story time, Jason Dubray. Years ago, my boys were still young, I got a knock on my door, and this young lady, very young, I would say 12 or 13-year-old girl, came to talk to me about my soul and my salvation and to give me the good news. I believe she was Mormon. I can't remember exactly. She might have been Jehovah's Witness. Doesn't really matter to the story. I was concerned for her because I know this neighborhood is a little up and down, and she's going door to door, and she's just this little kid. Mm-hmm. So I chatted with her for a little while. I was like, you're not by yourself, right? Please, you're being safe and everything like that. And she noticed the wall of movies behind me, and she tried to change the subject and talk about a great story that she wanted to tell me about. Mm-hmm. I politely let her go on about her day. Mm-hmm. A few days later, the doorbell rings again. Same girl. She's got an older gentleman with her who I assumed was her grandfather. They seemed like they were familiar. And I had to have this conversation with him with my eyes. It was like, yes, I did stop and talk to your granddaughter for several minutes the other day, but it wasn't because I was at all interested in what she was selling me. I didn't say these things. I just looked at him, and that conversation had. And it changed my opinion a little bit on the whole Mormon door-to-door religious sort of thing. Like, it's easy to think of them as naive or, you know, just unknowingly selling a con or something like this, just because I'm not a very religious person, but even as religions go, Mormons got a really, really weird history around it. But they're human beings. They're real people, and they are trying to do good in the world. That's what they're doing. They're, in their minds, they're going door to door to spread the good word and bring about a brighter, better world. So why mock them or bother them for this? I couldn't help but think about that when I was watching Heretic, because these two Mormon missionaries go up to this house and they meet Hugh Grant there, and they have very careful rules, even more careful than as I described.
Yes.
They wouldn't even come into the house unless they were sure that there was a woman somewhere on the premises. And he tells them, yeah, his wife's making a cake, come on in, we'll talk about God.
A pie.
A
right?
pie.
Blueberry
pie.
Yeah.
And so this religious debate happens. And that's the other great thing about Heretic. It's decidedly a, you know, religious debate. It's a philosophical religious argument under the framework of a suspense thriller. This guy's not going to let them leave until they answer these questions for him. And he sort of redefines their, you know, narrative of basically their entire life. Although we find out one of the two girls is a more recent convert to the fold. But he's going to teach them a brutal lesson that religion is a story that's being told to them is a measure of control. And he's going to prove it to them by basically inflicting religious mentality on them. They have to go through a series of tests and choices, and he ruminates about Monopoly and about Radiohead and about all these things, with the central thesis being that your faith is nonsense. All it is a system of control, and I can control. The acting across the board in this movie is really good. The directing is really meticulous, but I think the sort of quiet geniuses of it is like, yeah, it's actually just that dusty old, you know, debate. Are we fools to have divinity? Like, we have faith, and faith is believing something without reason. But is that naive? And does the movie take a side? Because, like, as an atheist, or even if I don't go as strong as I was, like a non-believer,
agnostic.
I am not ascribed to any religious belief. Okay, I could take resentment that my side is being represented by a serial killer, right? Kind of takes the edge off of his arguments if, you know, he imprisons, tortures, and kills people. But I don't know, the conflict that he gives is he's more interested in the intellectual conflict than he is in the physical conflict. Although once he's got them in this trap, there's only so many ways it can go. Sorry, that's a prolonged introduction. They are playing a rigged game, but I loved Heretic. I felt like the bolts were constantly being tightened. I thought Hugh Grant was killing it, and he was having fun without going over the top, just edging towards going over the top. And you could see him, when he was being tested back by them, actually kind of enjoying the debate. I was a huge fan of Heretic. Am I crazy?
No, I mean, it was that was, again, same year as The Substance, and just a spectacular year for horror. There's another movie called Strange Darling in there too that I'm an enormous fan of. And I remember, I don't know which movie I was at, but all of these promos were coming up for the fall, and this was one of them. I was like, that looks really, really interesting. I hope it is as good as it looks. And much like The Substance, when I went to see it, it was even better than I could have ever dreamed of it being.
I almost wish it's not on the same episode as The Substance.
And on the repeat is even better, because you can see, you know what's going to happen, and you know what he is doing, And I think the great thing about it, and Mormonism for some reason there was like a TV show with Andrew Garfield where he was this detective in this Mormon community and dealing with like this murder mystery serial killer type of thing. There's the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives on reality. I don't watch any of that
Mormonism
stuff.
was having a moment.
But there's like these movies coming out, and I think one of the other things that's absolutely brilliant about this screenplay is it doesn't, just like you were saying, it doesn't treat these girls as cartoon characters, and we take the time. It's this wonderful wait for Hugh Grant to appear in the film, but we have two just wonderful young actors that are carrying the beginning of this as they're going around the town and doing their missionary work, and they're talking to people in the streets, and there's that that underwear, magic underwear thing is when those other teenagers come up and they seem like they're being kind of friendly with them, but then they pull the girl's pants down to take like a cheap video or whatever. Yeah. But we got to know them, and that dialogue at the very beginning when they're looking out there and they're talking about pornography, and then like talking about some very graphic pornography, and they watch that, and then there's these like subtle little hints there. Like it was the girl who we would say might be a little bit more progressive, is talking to the other one saying, so do you watch pornography a lot? No, I just saw it sometimes or whatever. It's like, yeah, no, you're watching this a lot because you're curious about the other side of this, which is very common if you're like in a kind of a controlled religion or cult or whatever you want to call it.
Once the internet was unleashed upon us, we looked up violence and nudity,
yes,
like right away.
Yeah.
Like
wasn't done for the greater good as much as, and that's why I think with the AI thing where we would probably end up going to, because humanity is that thing. But it just gave them such character from the beginning. It's like, okay, we're not getting too naive cartoon character girls that are walking in a situation, and the build up to it all makes sense. They're standing outside, of course it starts pouring rain, and they're just looking at each other. I'm not sure if we should go into this house or not, but it does seem like there is a woman here, and everything checks out. He's a friendly enough fellow. This leads me to Hugh Grant. Okay, so the other disappointment I had with the Academy, and the precursor prizes were good for this. Hugh Grant was up for a Golden Globe, and he was up for a BAFTA. He was up for the precursor awards for Best Actor. Not only, instead of a conversation about Timothée Chalamet and Adrian Brody for Best Actor, Hugh Grant should have been on that list, and not only that, he should have won the Oscar for Best Actor. This is the most complete performance of his career. Now, I've been a fan of his. He was stuck in rom-com hell for kind of the middle part of his career. He's choosing really interesting and dark roles now. But this combined the charm of the Four Weddings and a Funeral guy, where he seems like this very friendly, brilliant British fellow that you want to have a conversation with, but he also can play that dark side so well, and those switches, and kind of when he then turns kind of like the mask becomes blank there. He is scary, he is funny, he is charming, he is thought-provoking, and then we get into, okay, what's happening here? And the analogies and the theological conversation and the religious conversation that starts to happen,
which is most of the movie,
is intriguing. I mean, it is so well done. And we do get into the horror tropes once we kind of go down into this basement area, and we seem like we're watching this miracle with this emaciated kind of ghost person who, appears to, spoilers, I guess, but eats this pie. The blueberry pie thing is a reoccurring thing here, and dies, but then in this kind of shocking way kind of comes back to life in a really creepy way. That looked very familiar to modern horror. I've seen that stuff before, but there's a reason for all of these things, which gets revealed later on in the film, which is just absolutely perfect. It's interesting. I guess, sure, he is a serial killer. My take on it is that these aren't the first two girls who come to his door trying to sell him on religion. That when we get to late in the film and we see
women in cages,
the women in cages, and that he's like this monster keeping these women in cages who can't really speak or communicate anymore. This is all about him trying to teach them a lesson about God, or the lack of a God, and how much faith you have, and how if I control you enough, then I become your God.
Or if your God lets you be an emaciated, starving
woman
in
what
a cage.
kind of a God is this? Just so thought provoking. And this is where I'm talking about like this, the horror and the writing of the horror and the actors that they're getting right now are just top notch. And I mean, I would put those movies against any of the classic horror movies of the 70s, which is big praise for me, because here we are 50 years later from what I think was the greatest decade for horror movies in the 70s.
We're feeling competitive now.
It's starting to pay off. And Heretic is, I think it's still kind of underrated. I don't think as many people have seen this as have seen The Substance.
Yeah.
And they really should. It's thought-provoking. And I think anybody who is a fan of Hugh Grant, you've got to see this movie, because he is perfect in this. I mean, he has the same mannerisms and things that we have he's been criticized for in the past. They're still there,
but they're weaponized.
They're weaponized, but he is kind of transforms a bit. I mean, we never go like, okay, that's not Hugh Grant. We know it's Hugh Grant, but if you were used to like the awkward, self-deprecating Hugh Grant of Notting Hill and Four Weddings and a Funeral, you are not completely ready for this. I've seen him in some darker movies and some movies where he's been,
but you believe
before this. But this is the most complete performance of his career. I maintain that, and I'm all in for it. I mean, I can't wait to watch it again. I watched it very, very recently, and it was just, as soon as it was done, it was like, oh, I just feel so good about the future of horror cinema if this is what's going on. This was co-directed. I wasn't familiar with these guys. Yeah. Scott Beck and Brian Woods.
I was trying to convince my wife to watch it because she loves Hugh Grant from like the Four Wedding and a Funeral. Grant, right? But this is a different shade for him to be playing. Mm-hmm. I think that in the end of the day, and people will debate me on this, I'm sure, because the movie is a debate, that the movie does eventually dip its hands and reveal itself to be a movie that's pro-faith. I don't know that it's necessarily pro-Mormon, but I think it's pro-faith. I think in the end of the day, our hero or our survivor is saved by a resurrection and a sacrifice.
Okay, I have a different take on the end of the movie. I think it's the opposite, in fact, because it is referenced, this idea of this, when you die, you have this moment where whatever it is that you believed about yourself and like whatever because this heaven that is described was described earlier in the picture by the character. And then we see that character there, but I feel like we're seeing a flash of something that isn't actually there. And then really, the last section of what we're seeing is the moments after death, not that this isn't actually happening.
He didn't actually get stabbed by the woman who had her throat cut a few minutes earlier?
I think that after she's been killed, everything after that is not actually happening. We're in her head towards the end of the film. Was my take on it. But this is why it's such a fascinating movie, because you could have two completely different interpretations of it.
My thing was, I guess I missed that it would be a dream sequence. Like he gets slashed across the throat. If your artery's cut, in a minute you're unconscious. In 2 minutes you're dead. Mm-hmm. Like no matter what, you're so. And if it's not cut, you got a serious cut on your throat, and your windpipe might be open, and you're in real rough shape.
But did that resurrection actually happen?
Well, I mean, that will be the debate. We can talk about the movie, but it's interesting because at the last moment when he has won, this woman that we thought was dead shows up and saves the day and uses her last gasp to save, resurrection, sacrifice. It's also interesting that it's not the, quote, strong of the two, as we interpret it, that make it through the House of Cards. Like, she was a later recruit, and she seems like to be depending on the other for all of the advice and taking point on the debates, which she's good at. I like when she gets up in Hugh Grant's face and is like, yeah, there are a lot of ways and these religions are similar, but you're dismissing all of the many ways and that they are different in the interest of your argument. And like, I was sort of like, yes, people need to actually make cogent arguments. That's one of the most frustrating thing when you hear people doing religious debates. It's usually one side hammering away at the other and the other just playing defense, not usually that well. No. It's nice to see two people with real game.
It is a dialectical debate, and there are points where we're getting both perspectives. He is incredibly smart, though.
Yeah,
he is way smarter than these girls. I think the Sophie Thatcher character is on a more of a wavelength with him. The girl, oddly enough, that's where I was a little bit pleasantly surprised about who we start to follow towards the climax of the film. So that was a bit of a shocking death, if it was a death or whatever, to me, that happens towards the end of the film, and that it's like the character that I didn't think would be like the one lasting towards the end. I thought it would be okay, well, this is like the little bit more harder edged, not really hard edged, but the one who's more worldly of the two against this this really brilliant man who's like gonna rig the game absolutely. But I feel like if this had been made in 2002, this would have been a torture porn. Right. Would have been a really disgusting film. But I don't feel like anybody's exploited in this film. I think every character is kind of given three dimensions.
He does imprison them. He does kill one of them. It is a rigged game. He is the villain. It's hard for me not to interpret that as he is. His perspective is the wrong one, quote unquote.
And he's a great villain. I mean,
I'm putting that on the movie. Like, I'm not dismissing your interpretation either. Yeah. That was just my read of it. I felt like it was very, very balanced, but in the end, faith won in this movie. But I could be wrong.
I did want to show Chloe East. And
that's the name of the other actress.
Is the other actor. And Sophie Thatcher. I think they were all really good. But, yeah, I do think that, if I'm being super critical, I mean, yeah, if we're to take that as kind of realism towards the end, then that does feel kind of convoluted. But I guess it is built up because of what he presents as a resurrection earlier in the film, and then if we have an actual one and that sacrifice at the end, which might be more, powered by God or whatever, if that's what kind of think is happening.
Get them to concede that he has more control of them than their God does, ergo he is their God. He's not we're not cheering for him, and it's disturbing when he's making all of these strong points. But again, that's the smart move about it being Mormon, because there's all sorts of bizarre, incestuous, polygamous.
Oh yeah, and that's addressed.
Abuse, and they get into.
He talks about it. Yeah.
Nobody is on firm ground. Ever. It's a really good movie.
But yeah, again, just so it's not all praiseworthy, because I tried to say something negative about the substance in there, I'll try to say something negative here. We do have that moment, whether it would happen in real life, where Hugh Grant is kind of explaining his plan, and we're seeing the flashbacks to all the things that had happened throughout, just to remind us. Again, that part is. That's a technique that bugs me. It's kind of like the Saw thing, where there's actually purpose to this, and it has coherence, unlike Saw, who has some sort of moral superiority while we're flashing back to these things. Oh, it all makes sense now, when really it was just none of this makes sense, and it's just about
or it does make sense, but by recapping, you're kind of insulting your intelligence a little. The
flashback. I mean, we got it. We got the blueberry. What he did with the blueberry pie. We get all of the methods of the madness. This also has kind of the character who we think is going to come to the rescue, who seems to be the guy who's in charge of the missionaries, who goes retracing their steps, trying to all the houses to try to find out. Oddly enough, I had this false memory that that character was killed, but no, No, which was kind of another nice choice too. Like he just went about.
Yeah, he kept looking.
I mean, they'll be missing women. That's a whole separate thing here. But yeah, Heretic is. People who have not seen it really need to see this. If you're a horror fan, if you're a fan of just good movies.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it would have been a default number one if not for the presence of the substance.
Yeah.
They're really big on tradition around here.
Every year, there's this parade where everyone gathers around a friendo float.
Friendo? It's the clown on all the Bay Pen corn syrup labels. He's practically a local legend.
Smile, Philly girl. You're about to become a sensation.
Be careful who you hang out with. There's some real weirdos at this town.
Yeah, sis. Yeah, very funny, man.
Hey, Ginger! You okay?
I mean, we've seen horror movies with clowns, a lot of them, because of Terrifier and It in recent times. And we have seen like Children of the Corn. We've seen Cornfields, rural towns, like Stephen King really specializes in that. And, you know, that usually works really well for me. We've seen a group of teenagers and the outsider who moves into town and has this kind of angst and is like feeling uncomfortable at the new school and finds this outsider group of friends who, like, the authorities don't really like these kids. And it all kind of plays in Clown in the Cornfield, which is an interesting one because upon rewatch for me, it got better for me.
Okay.
Because the first time I watched it in theaters because I was like, this is such a ridiculous title. I just have to see what Clown in the Cornfield is about. And I had enough fun with it until we reached the plot twist. And I think we had a kind of a really interesting, if kind of familiar, slasher film with these other this weird town where they would worship this clown and what's the clown's name again? Friendo the clown, and it's all about their crops, and they've been doing this and having these parades for years, and then these kids do these videos where there's a clown that's going around and supposedly killing people and posting it online and getting likes, but they're like wannabe filmmakers and they get in trouble, and their teacher doesn't like them, the sheriff doesn't like them, the head guy in the town, his son is part of this group, and he doesn't really approve of his son hanging out with these kids too, and it just seems like there's something really odd going on here. I guess when I relaxed into the plot twist, it is the most insane thing you could ever possibly imagine. But if I'm willing to, now I know about it, I see the foreshadowing of it, I know where we're going, and I just sit back and enjoy this as just kind of a, you don't have to think about it, horror movie. Is it entertaining? Is it interesting? Does it have some pretty great kills in it? I would say yes. So this is not a huge endorsement, but it is kind of like my, kind of a mild thumbs up, whereas I think the first time I saw it, my thumb was down, but I think I was a little bit harsh in my judgment of it because I didn't like that plot twist. I'm still wrestling with that plot twist. I do think this is a tough group of movies that it's up against. Maybe if it was on a list of B horror movies, it would be at the top of the list.
Right.
And this group is going to be towards the bottom. But
I think
I'm not mad at it. I think people can check out Clown in the Cornfield and have a good time with it. But I can also understand people who have the reaction I had the first time. They're like, why did I invest time in that when there's so many other horror movies I could have watched?
Well, it was a puzzling one for me because, it's one of those elevator pitch titles. The title is the elevator pitch of the movie. There's a clown in a cornfield and it's killing people. Let's not overthink it. Okay, I can
Sure.
I can show up for this. Also, Eli Craig is the name of the director, I want to say. Yes, he directed Tucker and Dale versus Evil, which is so superior to this that it's kind of embarrassing. It's got a quarter of the budget. This is Canadian made. It's based off of a teen-focused horror novel. And it had all the ingredients for something that I could get behind and make excuses for. And yet I found myself restless and poking fun at it instead of, scoring points for it. I saw everything that it was doing, and it wasn't doing it badly.
No.
And but it was all built of other parts. And you're not wrong. In the age of Pennywise and Terrifier, Art the Clown, I mean, this guy does not win plays or show.
No.
And
they had to do something different with the clown thing.
Yeah.
They absolutely had to.
But I think it is. It's a horror movie for kids, but they somehow managed to sneak in an R-rated horror movie here. But it's not for adults. It's a little bit too simplistic and kid-focused and kid-minded. And to that end, if you're a kid watching this movie and you guess who the clown is, no matter who you guess, you'll be right. It there's no reveal because there's no mystery.
I mean, I was, before we got into the crazy, when multiple clowns come out of the cornfield.
That's a good moment.
That was a very good moment. And we had, the usual, there's danger to these young people. Let's have a big party and everybody's going there just so we can, attract the serial killer or killers right to the place where all the young people are to kill. But that was established in the 90s sequence.
That's right.
When everything's being explained, and I know we might spoil it in a minute here, not as many people have seen this movie, but where we get the monologue about why this has been happening and this has been done for generations in this town. I was puzzled as to why the 90s and the kids in the 90s were a problem for this town.
And just
two
of them.
They didn't like the hippies, and what was it they didn't like before? It was it was different groups. Now it's just this generation is so spoiled and they're just on their phones and they're just they're making society worse or whatever.
Every now and then.
But why was it in the 90s? They were just kids having a regular party that I could see. A couple of them went to make out in the cornfield in the opening. It was a good opening.
Every 27 years or so, they have to do a sacrifice involving a clown.
No, I've heard of that before.
Weird. Yeah. Again, it's not just they're sacrificing to some dark gods to make sure the crops bloom. It's generational. Every now and then, a generation of kids come along that are such a fucking waste that they have to be just culled. You have to cut them out. But
it doesn't make sense, though, does it?
Who that generation is, why and when, seems to be completely left up to grabs. Whenever, whatever. Why this, old advertising label for the flour mill or whatever it was that used to be in town is now the focus of evil. It's never adequately explained. There's 3 books in the cycle. Maybe they get into it, but boy, I'm not interested. There's this boy that all the girls are interested in, but he's not reacting to any of them because he's attracted to another guy, and there's a whole sub-story about that.
That felt very 90s. It felt like a 90s reveal, didn't it?
Well, it could be considered progressive, but I saw it coming, and I knew why it was there. We were talking about it in the other movie, where the Predator one, where they were being culturally representative of everyone in a very PC way. That Star Trek used to get shit for that. The new Star Trek's getting cast, so they make sure they cast one of everybody, right? I don't know. I felt that it was being driven at a dumber audience than me, and frankly, I'm pretty fucking dumb.
No, you aren't.
No. I'm willing to be dumb. I will put up with the dumbest.
I know.
Friday the 13th.
You've a broad.
I will roll with these punches, and there are a couple of kills that I thought were okay, but.
Yeah, I get it's less exciting.
Could you name a character that you got behind, or know any of the characters?
Well, the kind of the final girl, I liked her a lot. Her name Quinn. I was going to look up the actor's name. I'm not sure if I had my notes here, but I thought she did a good job. I mean, we've seen this type of character before. She's brunette. I think Neve Campbell in the Scream series. It was just right. It was almost like a pre-Scream world that they live in. here, like that we've never seen a horror movie before. But I like that actor. The adults did their job. Some of them were kind of big reaches in
Felt
there.
like a
but
couple of them didn't seem to me like they wanted to be there too much.
they might be phoning it in. Like these were not. These were sea level. They're faces. That
Diamond in the
people have
rough
seen.
moment, though. Gotta say, give credit where credit is due. The two female characters being flummoxed by a dial rotating phone.
Yeah, that was funny. That was very funny.
They don't know how to use a dial.
Well, how do we call for help?
And like they are unsuccessful.
Yeah,
they never
that is
are
funny.
able to call for help.
They got a laugh at my screening.
I thought that shit was pretty funny.
Yeah, that
as an old man,
pretty good.
got to. And again, I wonder if it was the day that I watched the movie, because like you were saying, like the first time you watched the movie, you found yourself kind of picking on it too.
Mm-hmm.
But like I went in, like I feel like I wanted to like it. I
Mm-hmm.
was in the mood to watch something dumb and fun. And I was just like, yeah, I get it. And especially the third act. One of the recent Scream movies has, when they do the ghost face reveal, it's like a whole fucking family of people. It's like hilarious. It's so dumb.
I know.
This is so much dumber.
Well,
it's like
it is. It is.
Hey, Scream,
but maybe
hold
that's what it's
my
supposed to be.
beer.
Like I again, maybe part of it was I had talked to a student about this just before, who had seen it and said, "Yeah, no, it's as dumb as just go in recognizing it's not bright."
If it makes a 15-year-old read a book, fucking A.
Sure, you're whatever. The other thing about it that seemed very 90s to me, or 80s or 90s, is among the friends, who is the first to get killed?
Right.
The black kid.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen anymore. And then the movies make reference, no, I'm not sticking around. I've seen this movie before. This town or whatever, they don't live in a world where that's happened. This girl came from Philadelphia, apparently. She would be very aware of the history of horror movies. But anyway, that's me thinking way too hard about this.
I hear myself, and I know I'm being too hard
This
on
is
it.
normally my role.
Right?
Like, yeah, we've switched roles for some reason. I'm defending the goofy
again,
B.
They made the
horror movie.
mysterious choice of going hard R with the violence, because everything around the violence seems pretty safe.
A little bit with the language too, but art.
And maybe if I was 14 or 15, I was like, the bad guy is all the adults. That's so bad.
Were you entertained by it?
I guess I wasn't bored, but I was nonplussed.
Yeah, that's not a great excited review. No, it isn't. So, yeah.
But again, Canadian made. He did a great, horror comedy before this.
Mm-hmm.
And
you're cheering for the guy. I mean,
it describes itself as a slasher movie.
But how long ago was Tucker and Dale? Like that was a while ago.
It's got to be a good 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, so that's probably how long it's taken him to gather up the money to do another movie. Like that's.
I want to support Canadian talent. There's 3 books. If they want to make another one, go ahead. But am I excited about it?
I don't know if it made enough of an impact to... Well, I guess there's ones that have had less impact that have sequels. I mean...
If you make it cheap enough, I don't know. I feel like I'm being hard on this one. Maybe you and I are like sort of switching places on the review of Killer of Killers.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I'm as hostile against it as my review sounds, but I'm sure not excited by it.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Is there anything else you want to say about Clown the Cornfield?
No.
Just make short work of this one.
I saved a lot of lives that night.
Everyone needs to get off the dance floor!
Lives that were never meant to be saved. But Death doesn't like it when you mess with his plans.
This book, it will show you everything you need to know to keep our family safe.
It all started with Grandma. Death is coming for us because we were never supposed to exist.
Watch out!
Only by embracing death will it pass you by.
Maybe Death's not actually coming for our family. Because that would be crazy.
Good luck.
Final Destination Bloodlines made a shit ton of money in the box office. And my friend Jason Dubray took me to see it.
Yeah.
And I believe shortly before we went into the movie, I was being all catty or whatever. And I said, I don't mean to spoil this for you, Jason. And I haven't seen the movie, but some kind of cataclysm is going to happen at the beginning of the movie. And only 1 or 2 people are going to survive. And then those people are going to be hunted down by death. And in the end, they'll get away with it. or will they? And you and I went into the theater, and it played out exactly as I said it would, and it was completely entertaining and fine. Like, it is another Final Destination movie. The only thing I can really say, like, to dampen the thing about, because a lot of noise around this one, just made way too much money. It's another Final Destination movie. Part of me is like, everyone relax a little. Like, for a movie this deep into its franchise, it is astoundingly sturdy. And I think that they brought in this generational aspect, like the instigating accident of this glass-floored restaurant on a tower catastrophically disintegrating through fire and calamity, causing the death of all these people, has echoes generationally because of the people who died.
It was in the 60s or whatever that happened, right?
And so in that level, they're minimally messing with the format. And I guess also our lead actress has premonitions right before a possible Final Destination death is going to take place. That if she's on point and focused, she might be able to avoid danger. But basically, I feel like if you've seen Final Destination, you've kind of seen Final Destination Bloodlines. I think that there's some great character work, and there's actors doing work kind of almost better than the movie deserves. Mm-hmm. One of the characters who is not, under threat of the curse, as things turn out, ends up falling a victim to it. He survives for so long that when his death actually comes, it sort of counts more somehow. Like, you feel the impact. And that's something like a movie like, just to pick something out of the air, A Clown in a Cornfield just doesn't manage to. None of the death matters in that movie, even a little bit. And even though the deaths in the Final Destination movies can be over the top and silly, and like I say, these Rube Goldberg like absurdist deaths, like they're meant to be tragic. They're meant to be horrifying. Mm-hmm. We're meant to be frightened, and like, how are they ever going to avoid this fate? It's a sound sort of formula, and they worked it successfully again. But as far as reviewing it beyond that, it's one of the better entries of the Final Destination franchise. Thumbs up. Way to go, guys. ... What did you think of Final Destination Bloodlines?
Well, I think for me, I gave up on that franchise pretty early on. In fact, in the first one, I remember kind of like laughing and going, okay, like, oh, if there's a banana peel, somebody's going to slip and break their neck on a banana peel. This is getting so ridiculous, like looking at all the dangers in the room. And so I wasn't sure if this was a good idea for this movie, but I thought it was like, this is a Larry movie. We'd see it eventually, so I thought that was a good one for us to go and see of the horror movies that were out at that time. And I just had such a great time with it. It kind of blew me away. I think it's my favorite Final Destination movie. And it's because the setups are so well done and so epic. And there was, like, what we see happening at the beginning, we think is what is really, really happening. But then we kind of find out, oh, what we were seeing, none of that was there. But there was such a great setting, like this sky-high restaurant type of thing was brilliant. And I could see like major cities would have something like this, and it'd be so impressive. It's such an attraction in the 1960s to have something like this created, and the type of music and the dancing and all the dangers. But we have that. We're spoiled with one sequence after another, which is so exciting. Like and a lot of them were done in the promotions. Like the barbecue scene I saw in the promotions. Right. There's one where they ran almost the entire scene in the tattoo piercing parlor.
As a trailer, yeah.
Yeah. And like the payoff to that and the payoff to the barbecue scene is not what I expected based on what I saw in the trailers. I thought, oh, okay, well, here we go. This is going to be a little bit lazy. And that character you're talking about seems like this would be the first character to be killed, because he's like, all tatted up and all pierced up, and is kind of the angry member of the family and the more sarcastic character. And then we start to get a little bit of a plot twist with him, which he does, is not aware of. And the fact that, yeah, you're right, he lasts a lot longer. But wow, what a creative way! Like his death
sequence
is spectacular, combined with the death of that other character who they discover is the next one, and they use everything. They use a peanut allergy. They use lawnmowers. They use barbecue. They use glass falling into ice.
Yeah.
That whole fortress where the one lady has been holed up, and it would remind me of Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween, there where she stayed off the grid and she stayed safe because has this completely controlled environment. And then if she steps outside, then death is going to get her.
As the movie proves.
Suddenly it does. And it really, again, really great central character and performance. And you're right, the actors, they came to work that day. Like they could be kind of like you were saying about the clown in the Cornfield cast. Oh, well, this is a paycheck for me, and this will lead me between theater projects or whatever.
But I'm not invested.
No, this group of people, I think, really kind of came to work, and they were invested in making this the best. The best Final Destination movie that they could. Bloodlines has been used for so many. I think there wasn't Bloodlines in Hellraiser, Bloodlines in Tremors,
Pet Sematary Bloodlines.
Yeah, that's right.
Hellraiser,
the title, it does make sense because of the generational thing. I think maybe another title would have worked.
Final Destination 6 is fine with me, or whatever it was.
And I guess maybe the end of it, we have to have our gotcha moment, and I was just like, nah. I think. It goes much like, actually, this is probably more praise than it deserves. Going back to the first image of this movie is followed up on with the last image, which is similar to what The Substance did.
Right. We've come full circle.
We've come full circle to this first image, and we're like, oh, okay, what the hell's going on? We've forgotten completely about this train track and this the train stuff from the very beginning, from the 1960s sequence, but that's going to be so important later on.
A successful dance is being done here too, because our characters are all doomed, but we walk out of the theater sort of energized and smiling and talking about, wasn't it awesome and blah blah blah. We're not devastated by the ending. And the scene in the backyard is sort of quintessential Final Destination.
It was very much.
There's the trampoline, there's the lawn,
there's
the glass and the ice, and you're like, how's this what is the thing? Something is going to happen.
But they keep catching these things before
setting it up and not necessarily.
Yeah, they kind of knew who was going to die in that scene. I think that was kind of revealed in the promo stuff. Right. Unlike the other one, which had just this beautiful, if convoluted, plot twist there. That's why we probably had in our heads that one character was doomed, because he was the star of that scene in the tattoo parlor. So
the misdirection works. I think that something that this movie might struggle with, I don't know what my favorite, I'd have to think about what my favorite Final Destination movie is. I guess I'm not passionate about the Final Destination franchise as a rule, but I think especially the first three came up with really good kind of universal.
There's the amusement park one,
there's the airplane. I personally believe everybody's at least a little bit afraid of flying.
Yeah.
And then the second one was the car accident where the logs fall off of a truck and bounce off the highway and smash into the cars. It's really frightening. Third one's a roller coaster, and one bolt comes loose on the road, where it falls and how things go. There's something universal about those approaches.
Have they ever figured out the business of the premonition, why some people have this premonition and can see that this is about to happen, and
I think it's a little bit of the series finding itself. There seems to be the one character who has the initial premonition, who, if they stay focused and hyper-vigilant, will have a last-second warning just before it happens, but not in a way that's super helpful. Also, if you remember in the first movie, and this is abandoned, death was covering its tracks.
Yes.
There's a scene where it leaks water out of the sink and makes this guy slip and choke himself, but then the water recedes.
It disappears, yeah.
And that...
Here it was just a mess of this...
Or a shadow. In some of the other ones, you see a shadow pass by a mirror, or a wind blows the curtain. Some presence is implied. In this movie...
But it just seems these tragedies are happening to this family, and there's just a whole series of accidents. They aren't really believing, because the person who talked about this, that the grandmother was viewed as that she had mental health problems, and that now this girl who's gone off to college, that she has mental health problems too, or she started to believe, the stuff that her grandmother has left her with, and that nobody believes her for a long period of time in the film there. But I think the predictable formula is there. I think I enjoyed the ride. I mean, it seemed to work. Like sometimes these formula ones don't work, and this worked for me better than those original ones.
Considering there's no physical villain, like the villain of the movie is the abstract concept of death.
Yeah,
you've missed your due date, so death is going to try to autocorrect to fix the glitch in the Matrix.
Yeah, we don't have Hugh Grant here or something like that.
There's no character to kill and resurrect every episode, and there's no through-line cast that we need to keep up with. Like, in theory, this could go on forever, but the other part of me says, yes, but when you go into the theater, there's going to be an instigating action where a bunch of people die, and the survivors will be hunted down by death one at a time until one or two of them maybe survive. Or do they?
But I do want to mention one thing, which this movie has. The very last performance from Tony Todd, Candyman.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, and you could tell he was thin, and he was probably not well, but
unwell.
He is giving it his all in this performance, and bravo right to the end.
Yeah,
he's a little bit of a plot device or an exposition machine, but his screen presence was still as fascinating as ever, and he's a guy who he gets it.
R.I.P. Tony Todd, and he went out with a hit.
He went out with a hit, which is awesome. I might say that maybe I'm thinking about this a little bit too much, considering he's the little boy at the beginning of the film in the 60s sequence. He almost looks older than the grandmother when she's doing her survivalist thing. And again, maybe it's because of what he was battling at the time that made him look older, but he was supposed to be, whatever,
yeah.
15, 20 years younger than her, and that didn't completely make sense, but I'm really glad we have those scenes with him in the movie.
Yeah.
And he still had this impact and this power over them, even if it was a bit of a plot device. And
he'll always be Candyman to me, but
be.
I'm also glad he had the Final Destination.
Well, and I also liked him in the remake of
I don't mean to be dismissive of this too. It's fine, and it's sturdy, like a solid entry of Friday the 13th. Like, it does what you expect. The kids went to Camp Crystal Lake. Most of them got killed. Mm-hmm. Jason is defeated, or is he? So that was 6 fresh horrors reviewed on the Shelf Shedding Rankin Review. Or is it the Rankin Shelf Shedding? It doesn't matter.
I think the first one sounds better. Shelf Shedding Rankin Review, yeah.
It just comes out better that way.
We'll see if something leaves my shelf here after this. So we're going to do the ranks, and I'll give my ranks first, as you would do on Rankin Review.
Yep.
While you're doing your ranks, I'll be kind of putting in the points.
Doing the math.
And so after we have our ranks, we'll talk about, but then I will also have kind of who got the most points between the two of us, and which movie would get the least points and would be shed from my collection if I owned all of these.
I feel like we're pretty close, but that we're not going to match. But I don't think like we're going to have a big mad fight over it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think if I wanted to, if I wanted to be the rank and review champion, I think this is the closest I could have been if I decide to not be completely honest about some things towards the bottom.
Fair.
But yeah,
Fair.
but I'm going to stick to my morals on this one. Yeah, so my least favorite of these. Predator, Killer of Killers. Yes, indeed. Yeah, it wouldn't make any sense. Yeah, this was the one. I'm happy to revisit any of these movies again other than Predator, Killer of Killers. But you gave me something to think about in the sense that maybe this wasn't made for the Jason Dubray generation of Predator fans. And so maybe I'm being extra hard on it. But I also think at one point you referred to it as like this wasn't a complete movie. And I think that really hurts it, especially against this group of films.
I would say it's like Predator product.
Yeah, Predator product.
Yeah.
Yeah, which Disney is doing with all of the things that they have control over when they took over 20th Century Fox there. So, in fifth place for me, Clown in the Cornfield. I was playing some defense for it, but against this group of movies, it's definitely on the lower half. I'm happy I had a better time with it the second time around, but I get your frustration with it. I get anybody's frustration with it. But maybe it was
feels
just
like I should like it
I was in
more.
a good enough mood to watch it, and it was funny. Both times have been daytime. It feels like a daytime horror movie.
Right.
It's not one where I'm gonna I'm not gonna be scared by it. It's just But the plot twist is just bizarre. Anyway, that's what they did. Fourth place for me is actually The Monkey. I think it might have been a little bit higher right after I watched it, but it's just the more I started thinking about it, the less impressed I was by it. Yet I was still impressed enough to find it very entertaining. It meets all the Stephen King love that I have, all the Osgood Perkins love that I have. Really good cast. Adam Scott has a nice cameo in there. Tatiana Maslany, I just love seeing her in anything.
Yeah.
And she got to really play it up. It's like quite a different role for her in that mother role. It was really... It makes the first half of the movie quite good. I think things do kind of slip towards the end. Yeah,
it gets strange in the third act.
It does, and there's enough good stuff in the first half to make me forgive it enough there. Third place is going to Final Destination Bloodlines, maybe overperforming. I just had a great time. It's a great memory of going to movies last year, going to see that with you.
Yeah.
And for me, it overperformed then. It overperformed when I watched it again recently. I think it was I put that one off till the very end, and I watched it again. I like, this is just a really solid, entertaining movie. So went way all in a pretty competitive group and went all the way to third. But yes, the top two were pretty obvious. I'd be shocked if we don't have the same top two.
We do.
Two is Heretic. Heretic, would be number one in most lists. It made my top 10 list for that year. Hugh Grant should have won an Academy Award for it. I will keep saying that. Whether people care about my opinions on that or not is a separate matter. But yeah, The Substance was the best movie of 2024. Should have won Best Picture, but definitely should have won. But I don't know what Demi Moore could have done in that. It is a near perfect performance. It's one of my favorite performances. Maybe, it's up there to me with like Gloria Swanson in Sunset Boulevard. It's that kind of a great performance from... an actor that I think is just underrated before this, and I hope it leads to more roles for her and she gets another chance at this. But
it is perfect.
I don't know.
Casting. It's perfect.
Yeah. I mean, the only other person I could think of maybe, but I still think it might not have worked as well as Meg Ryan. Somebody like Meg Ryan, the kind of those 90s, but there's always a little bit more of a dramatic edge or something that Demi Moore was doing that Meg Ryan was a little bit more comfortable in the rom-coms.
Demi Moore could bring the crazy. They could get an 80s icon like Elizabeth Shue or something, but Demi Moore it was totally it. I mean, it's a role of a lifetime, and I hope she gets another role of a lifetime because it reignited my fandom there. But that's the number one movie for me. Not a big surprise for those who know me. So yeah, I mean, we're close, and we're not at all close, but we're close enough, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Clown in the Cornfield hit the bottom for me. I'm hoping that maybe it was like you the first time I was just being too hard on it, or I don't know. I was in a mood or whatever.
It could be.
Because all of the component ingredients should have worked enough for me, but I was like, just kind of like, I don't know.
It felt like one of those goosebump things.
And then all of a sudden it would just be a hair too violent.
Yeah.
But it still lived in that vibe.
It did,
somehow. Predator Killer of Killers is in 5th place. I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. I watched it with my kids, which also helped. Like the awesomeness of the gore and people having their heads split through the mouth and flopping on the floor, and like the gore and the animated predator violence, I did not find boring, especially watching it with my teenage kids.
That would have helped, probably.
But I recognize I would have liked it more if I was closer to their age category, and that this is a different Predator. I guess Predator should be allowed to change. I shouldn't be like gatekeeping Predator, but like this ain't my Predator. This is the new generation's Predator. I think it's watchable. Like I say, I like that style of animation, but on this list there was some pretty steep competition. So the two middle ones, I debated and I kept on flipping them back and forth. I ended up putting Final Destination in 4th place, but really, of these two could switch places. They're very similar in that, like, they've got these stunty kills and they're absurd, but the insanity baked into the monkey kind of appealed to me. I still I wag my finger at the very, very last moments of the movie, but I have to appreciate the balls to make a movie this crazy after you made a movie as, patient and haunting as Long Legs. Yeah. It's just like, but I can do this as well. I actually quite enjoy doing this as well.
Going from like making 7 to Dead Alive or something like that,
So, 4th, Final Destination, 3rd, The Monkey. And now we can start agreeing. Heretic is in 2nd place. It's a fiercely intelligent horror movie. Thank you. It's like, Final Destination made a ton of money, and it's sort of like this ridiculous geek show where we see how these grim deaths are going to play out. And if that's not your thing, I get you dismissing and admonishing people who like, quote, horror movies. Heretic is a psychological, religiously themed horror movie that is as tense as most any other thriller you ever get, and it engages your fucking brain.
Yes.
It should be in 1st place, except for this movie called The Substance, which is just so insane. Like, I love that it got nominated for all these Oscars. I have these images of people who are like hoity-toity film folks who don't jive with the Cronenberg types in the world. The Substance got nominated for a lot of awards, and Demi Moore's in it, and some sweet old couple sitting down to watch The Substance and just having their brains boiled and probably turning it off and wondering what the hell is becoming of the world.
And it won the writing award at the Cannes Film Festival. I mean, it won the screenplay award. Like, talk about hoity-toity, the Cannes Film Festival.
I can describe this movie to you, but I cannot adequately explain the madness and the boldness and the confidence with which this movie is executed. And again, Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley deserve their celebration. But this director...
The daughter of Andie MacDowell, by the way.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
This director, whatever she does, like if
I
she
mean,
does a remake of Moulin Rouge or like How the West Was Fun too, I will fucking watch it.
Yeah, because she's going to do something interesting with it.
All of a sudden, you just don't know. Maybe someone's going to have a boob erupt out of the side of their head and flop on the floor. Or Dennis Quaid is going to be shoving shrimp in his face and it's going to make me want to die inside. Like, I had to give The Substance number 1. But I really, really want to shout out Heretic as well, because people know about The Substance, and I don't think everybody knows about Heretic.
People need to check out Heretic for sure.
Almost any other list, like Heretic would probably be at the top, but I couldn't not give Splice the top spots.
Yeah, no,
the
of course, Substance,
I said Splice. Substance.
Yeah, I like the Substance more than Splice, but Splice is still an entertaining one.
Moments.
It has its moment. It's all right for sure.
Different movie.
So
also very fucked.
Yeah, there's something with those S horror movies, I guess. Points wise, so I was adding up the points while we were going there. Yeah, so not a big surprise. The winner would be The Substance with 12 points. Heretic gets the silver medal, second place with 10. Then we have a tie for third between The Monkey with 7 points and Final Destination Bloodlines with 7 points.
They inverted.
And then there'd be a tie at the very, very bottom with 3 points between Predator, Killer of Killers, Clown in the Cornfield.
So I get your copies of both of them?
Yeah, and I don't... Yeah, and obviously, I probably should, as a Predator fan, have copies of all the Predators, but yeah, I got Clown in the Cornfield off of Amazon, or off of Prime.
Right.
Watched it on Prime. And Predator, Killer of Killers, I watched it on Disney+.
So you spared.
So I don't even have them as digital copies. But because of that, there still has to be something in the tradition of my show.
We draw or print out a cover of the movies, and we burn them in effigy.
Okay, I like that. All right, we should do it. And then do a video of it and post it on our Facebook pages.
Jeremy and I destroyed Day of the Dead 2 Contagium.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad enough that it pissed us off. We actually had to make sure that no one else was subjected to it. So,
I know it's out there somewhere in some streaming service, but I have not watched it to this day.
Okay.
Yeah, it actually intrigues me because it's not like you destroy movies. Like normally when you're on my show, you get a new copy for your movie collection, but this time, well, you're walking away empty-handed. Other than the fact that
if you feel obligated to buy me a copy of Predator, Killer,
there we go.
I'm just fucking with you.
Is it even available? I mean, it
I have no
probably
idea.
is. I don't know. I have to
and
look
like
around.
I say, it feels more like Predator product than it feels like a real Predator.
Yeah,
actually.
like
I have all
Bloodlines
of
is
the
a movie.
other Predator movies, goddamn, and I have all the other Final Destination movies. Why do I have to stop collecting movies? It's just not fair.
Yeah, it used to be Netflix, but now it's all of them.
Oh, I think we agreed enough, even though we
were in the same universe. Sometimes we're really off. I think maybe Killer of Killers was the biggest difference there, right. But yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for doing it, brother.
Thank you.
Listen to the Shelf Shedding Movie Show.
Yeah. And if it's okay for me to, I always shout out, listen to Rank and Review for my listeners. I also, and I know you shout some of these out to our friend Kurt's show, A Lifetime of Hallmark.
Yep.
I also want to mention Lindsay Wilkins, a friend of the show, does a podcast called Schlock and Awe, where she does these doubles. And so she'll take kind of a theme and she'll have a movie which is kind of a little bit more accepted and like the hoity-toity crowd really likes, paired with something which is a little bit more schlocky under a similar theme, and discusses them with a guest. And she's also starting like an Oscars show where she's drawing a category and a year and then looking at the nominees with a guest and saying like, what does that have to say about that particular year in movies that the Academy that focused. So it could be like makeup in 1997 or something like that, So Oscar So Random, I believe, is the name of the show there. So I just wanted to shout out any of the podcasts that she's involved with there too, and just mention those before we go here. But thank you so much for having me on, but also letting me co-host with you. It's been a bit of a, I don't know,
it's
a split personality type thing.
I don't know why a twinner show. I don't know. But we did it.
We did it. Sometime in the future, we are going to release this on the same day.
It's happening. It was a thing. We did the thing. It was a good thing. But now the thing is coming to an end. I don't know. I felt like I might have been too hard on the new Predator, the animated Predator movie, and Clown in a Cornfield. Again, it's all your sort of position on the where your head is when you first see a movie or your history with a specific franchise. But if I was a little saltier than I should have been, I will apologize to that. For the most part, these were all quite watchable movies, and 2 of them were kind of incredible, in my humble opinion. But what's your humble opinion? You should send it to me at ranknreview@gmail.com. That's ranknreview@gmail.com. Please check out the website at ranknreview.ca. There is a very tiny but, fun and spunky YouTube community if you seek out the podcast on YouTube. And, just tell a friend about the podcast. Keep putting the podcast in your ears. And don't forget about Mr. Dubray's shelf-shedding movie show. Because we had fun today, right? And I think you will also have fun on his podcast. Can I ramble more? I could. Will I? I will not. Thank you for listening to Rank and Review.